Brian Selkick, who is also in the cast, also contributed to choreography as well.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And along with us today, Dan Rice.
Hello.
Hello there, Dan. And Kiara Durban.
Yeah, hi.
Hi there. Well, let's kind of go over a quick review of Calendar Girls.
Sure.
And, we know we had a little struggle here and there with
Yes.
getting the show going. And,
Yeah.
But once it did, I've heard great things from people. I enjoyed it when I was in, and one of my sisters, she just loved it, and I got a cousin who was crazy about it, and so many people. Oh, I wanted to go back again the next day.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah,
like
I
to
mean,
hear.
it was such a. I mean, there aren't a lot of shows about women in their middle-aged or retirement age, unless they're playing somebody's wife, or somebody's mother, but then they're not the main character. So there just aren't a lot of plays like that, and most theater goers are women of that age, and so I think a lot of people just saw stories that they could relate to. With a really tremendous cast that was
great.
fun, and you wanted to hang out with those women. You're like, what a great group of people. I want to be a part of that. And that's for me, that's part of theater, is like, do we want to spend time? Do we want to pay money to spend 2 hours with these people?
Yeah.
I hope so.
It's usually worth the $25 there.
Yeah.
But great cast. Now, several of them were regional or from the Quad cities or so.
We had Laura Adams, who's from Port Byron.
Okay.
And we had Penny O'Connor, who's from LeClaire, and Dorothy. I'm going to say her name wrong. Dorothy Farrick. I think that's correct. Who is from Clinton, and John Chase, who's from Mount Morris, which is a little bit away in Illinois, and James Fairchild, who used to be in the Quad Cities but now is in Appleton, Wisconsin.
Okay.
So we still count James as of the region. Yeah.
Yeah, he's done several shows with this cast the last few years.
Yeah, he was the Reverend in Footloose a few years back, and I think the husband in Bridges of Madison County also. Yeah.
I think so. And Dorothy, now where was she from again?
She's from Clinton.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. She's been in several shows.
And just a
throughout the
delight.
years.
And it was so nice to.
Oh my gosh, such a delight.
Such a delight.
Yes. And it was crazy in Calendar Girls how much the actors, the characters they were playing, the actors themselves were actually so much like their characters. And getting to spend time in their dressing rooms with them, there were so many moments where I was like, your character would say that. That's so crazy. Yes.
Yeah, I know. Those some of the gals that were in this show, you recognize them from Church Basement Ladies a year or so before.
Yeah.
And you can see, she brought a little of that character into this one.
Yeah.
So, they're very enjoyable. So, good turnout for the most part?
Yeah, I mean, because we only were able to do 5 performances. Because it's a union company, the union caps us at 5 performances a week. Otherwise, everybody has to make more money. And so we couldn't just add performances. We were over 200 people for most of those performances. And the boat only holds 215. So that's great for a non-musical production. A really tremendous turnout.
The night I went, it was pretty much full. So.
Yeah.
And I think that's about it on
Calendar Girls. Yes, and everyone is healthy again. Knock on wood.
Yes.
And have you had your tests today? Or yesterday?
Yesterday we had some tests. Today we don't have
Good
tests.
enough.
Yeah.
Good enough. Okay, on to Calendar Girls. And when you guys came in, I said, I know nothing whatsoever, or not Calendar Girls.
State Fair.
Whatsoever about
State Fair, yeah.
Yes.
And so you guys have got to let me know and let everybody else know what's going on. Yeah.
Well, the first thing is that it's by Richard Rodgers and Oscar Hammerstein, who wrote The Sound of Music and Oklahoma and South Pacific and The King and I. So these are basically, they're considered the best Broadway composing team of all time.
Yeah.
So you're coming in with some great songs, and I'll let the cast members here talk a bit more about it. But State Fair was it was a movie first. Well, it's a book that was made into a film. and then they made a musical film in 1945. And this is when Rodgers and Hammerstein were at their peak. So they wrote 5 or 6 songs for the movie, and then in the 60s it was made into a stage musical, and they revised it in the 90s. So it's a show that not a lot of people have seen in person, but has all of those things you love from a Rodgers and Hammerstein show. It's about family, it's about community, it's just a celebration of Iowa and the Iowa State Fair. But this show feels a little bit more contemporary because it was written more recently. And so it's not 3 hours long. It's only 2 hours long, which is fantastic. And the scenes move quickly, and it feels like you're watching something new but has an old-fashioned feel to it, which is really cool, I think.
Yeah, I think we really brought a contemporary vibe to this older type show.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it does take place in an exotic location, Des Moines.
Yeah.
But most Rodgers and Hammerstein shows are like, the Oklahoma frontier, and this is 1945 Des Moines, right? Actually, it's 1946.
Yeah, get it right.
Fun fact, the movie was made in 1945 about the Iowa State Fair, but there was no state fair in 1945 because it was the end of the war.
Yeah.
So when they redid it in the 90s, they looked that up and thought, we better move it to 1946, which was actually the 100th anniversary of the state.
Yeah.
Just look at
Anyway,
it.
enough about that.
Yeah, and I love where it's set, especially that we're doing it here in Clinton, because I feel like a lot of the audience members can see themselves in the environment that we've set.
Oh, absolutely.
We had our first little preview last night, and a lot of the audience were getting the jokes that I didn't get myself. But it's about the fair, so apparently they're hilarious.
Yes, hilarious. And we James went and visited the fair, the Iowa State Fair last year, and took a look at what everything looked like, and based the set off of the Swine Pavilion in the Swine Pavilion in the State Fair, and one of our company members last night came to see the show, and she's from Des Moines, and was like, oh my gosh, it looks just like, and we're like, oh cool,
Yeah.
we nailed it.
We did it.
It's like a mashup of the exterior of the grandstand and the Swine Pavilion, and then sort of atmospheric things that feel like the rest of it. But I thought if we're gonna do State Fair in Iowa, and it's about the Iowa State Fair, we better get it right.
Yeah,
Sprinkling Iowa spirit.
Yes.
Well, yeah, a lot of people are going to get the jokes and
Yes.
understand the feel of it. So,
Right.
it should be a very interesting evening or matinee when you show up.
It'll be a great night for singing.
That's one of the songs in the show.
Yeah, why don't you tell me a little bit about the singing? What are you,
Okay, so it's an oddly simple and complex show at the same time, I would say, because there's 3 storylines going on at the same time.
Yeah, there's kind of 3 couples that we both play. The story mainly revolves around one family.
We're the Frake family.
Yes, we're the Frake family. We're playing the 2 siblings in the show.
I'm Margy.
And I'm Wayne. And so our parents already have this really cute, adorable little love story going on that they were already together, and they just continue to be wonderful and amazing and adorable throughout the whole show. While we both start out the show with a partner, and then our life gets a little turned around when we get to the fair. And I won't spoil anything because you got to come to see the show to find out what happens. But we end up a little crossways as far as what we thought we were getting into, and so it's following the kids and their blossoming love stories and the already fully bloomed love story of our parents.
Yeah, and also a discovery of self for the both of us. We kind of talked about how Margy isn't really sure what she wants. She just knows she's not happy with the life she has, and she's searching for something, but she doesn't know what. So she goes to figure that out at the fair, whereas Wayne is content in what he has, and that switches around when he goes to the fair.
I think that I know, well, Wayne thinks that he knows that he has the life that he wants, but then he finds out that his girlfriend's going to college, and that changes, oh wait, this is not going in the direction that I thought it was, and that is like, and that's the state that he's in when he enters the fair, and then he finds out so much more about the world and about, oh wait, everything isn't just only the stuff that I've seen before. And that really opens up his world to a lot of new possibility.
Yeah. So to summarize, we got our parents, who one of them has the best Iowa boar in the state, going to win the sweepstakes.
Will he win the sweepstakes? We don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah.
Our mother has concocted pickles and mincemeat.
Is she gonna win? What's gonna happen with that?
Yeah, are they going to win their blue ribbons?
Yes.
Yes.
Will we win the blue
State.
ribbon? That's the big question.
Yeah. And will Margy and Wayne fall in love?
Will
we
they?
don't know.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on in the State Fair.
All right. Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got my
Come join
tickets
us.
for it tonight. Yep, I will see it
Yay!
tonight. Yeah, so looking forward to it as
We're
always.
excited.
It's also, there's we were talking about the choreography earlier, and it has these huge dance numbers in it, and I don't want to say it's old fashioned, but they're huge dance numbers, and it's about like the community dancing at a big social event at the fair, and so the feel of the show is it's these little love stories, and then there's this fun plot about will they or won't they win the blue ribbons, and the parents are always bickering with each other as married couples do, but it's about kind of finding your own appreciation for home.
Yeah.
Because everybody's
want.
discontent in their own ways, but then you go to the fair and you get away from it, and then you realize what you have once you're there, and it might not be what you thought. So this great heartwarming story about family and loving where you are from, but also these huge song and dance numbers that just like lift the energy, and you can't help but smile and feel like you're part of it when it happens. So
And then we have to sing after the dance
Yes.
numbers.
Yeah.
And we are breathing heavily and singing at the same time.
at last night's little preview, Jaheim, who plays Pat in the show, does this big jump split at the end of this dance number, and then lands and goes right into singing. And the person next to me was like, "How is he singing so evenly and on pitch after doing that?" And I said, "I don't know, but he said he could do it, so he's doing
It's
it."
a surprise every
know.
night.
Yeah,
I don't know how.
yeah.
Well, who are some of the other characters that we will enjoy watching, finding out about?
Well, there's this one newly redheaded bombshell in the show. She just dyed her hair yesterday.
Back to her original color.
Yes, but she was originally a redhead and dyed it blonde, and is now back to a redhead for the show. But she sings some nice jazzy numbers that add a little bit of spunk
Yeah.
and pizzazz into
And
the
that's
show.
Megan Ludwig, who was here when we were
Okay.
talking about Sister Act.
Yeah.
And she plays Emily Arden.
Who may or may not be entangled in some kind of love triangle. You gotta come to find out.
Yeah, there's twists and turns there.
Yeah.
And I mentioned Jaheim, who plays Pat Gilbert, who is a newspaper reporter who has his eye on Margy.
Yes.
Abel and Melissa are our parents. Lisa and Courtney. I don't know their last names.
Yeah, Lisa Whipperling, who was with us last year for several shows and was in Calendar Girls, is
Yes.
back playing
Yes.
Melissa. And
She's
Courtney
Cora.
Krause, who, if you're listening and you saw pretty much anything at Timberlake, in 7-8 years ago, Courtney was part of that. Great actor, great director, and thrilled to have him here playing Abel Frake. He's directed a lot when I was at Timberlake also, and performed, and just so delighted to have him back, because we were talking about this earlier too, but the role of Abel, he's the father in the family, and some people have some weird relationships with their fathers, but Abel has to be the character who comes in and is funny but also serious when he needs to be, and lighthearted but direct. And so it was really hard. I mean, I auditioned a lot of people for this role, and ultimately I just called Courtney and said, "Hey, what are you doing this summer? Because you're one of like 3 people I can think of who can do this role right." Because he drives the whole show forward. And whenever there's a crisis for one of his kids, he needs to intervene in a way that is supportive, but also kind of funny and folksy. You know, the way a good Iowa farmer would have some wisdom for his kids. And to just get that just right is really hard. And Courtney's doing such a wonderful job.
Starts and
with the
ends
role.
the show well.
Yeah.
It's really a wonderful cast. I'm so blessed. It's like, you know, when you come into a cast, you never know what you're going to get, because, you know, people come from all over and you don't know who they're going to be. But James has done a really wonderful, we call him Jim, but yes, professionally James Beaudry it has done a really, really wonderful job of finding really just wonderful people to work with. And From all over. And it's just been such a blessing, and I know that these are going to be people that I am lifelong friends with.
Yeah. Well, and along that line, you know, I've done State Fair once before, a very long time ago. And I love the show so much because it's about people that I met working at the Showboat or working at Timberlake Playhouse before, and audiences. And, you know, I grew up in a city. I've never even lived in a suburb. And so to meet people who are rural or from cities that are surrounded by rural areas, and to have a story that's about those lives in a meaningful way that doesn't poke fun at. I mean, it's funny, but like, there are a lot of shows, you know, like Groundhog Day, for example, which is a musical. It was a movie that was made into a musical. And the big complaint about that show is that it makes fun of the small town people in the show. And it doesn't really celebrate them. It's from a really kind of like mocking point of view. And State Fair is not that. State Fair takes the lives of, I mean, we were talking earlier that like, over the 4th of July weekend and the next week, there are people with farms. Like 5 different people have invited me to their farms over the next week. And I'm trying to figure out how to accommodate all these things. And that's such a funny thing for somebody who's from New York City, where it's like, do you want to come over to our apartment? Or maybe somebody has a house in the suburbs with a backyard. And here's like, well, we have 100 acres. So, you know what I mean? Come over. That's the life here, and that's who these people are. And so I think, you know, with the 4th of July weekend and all of that, you know, no matter where you are politically on the spectrum, this is a way that you can celebrate where you're from on this holiday weekend. And the cast just dove right into that. Nobody was cynical about it. Nobody was like, this is dumb. You know what I mean? Because I mean, the plot is about mincemeat and a pig, and will they win the blue ribbon, and will the kids find love at the fair, and maybe they learn something about themselves. But it's not about the story. It's about the experience and the joy and the celebration of that life and that community. And so I'm just so grateful that everyone on the team gets that and just dove in and is dignifying these characters and just celebrating the story.
It's about people taking pride in what we do with our lives.
That's a line for the show.
I'll write that down and listen for that today. Well, you know, your experience through the years, you've been involved in, you know, plays and directing and musicals for, you know, quite a few years.
Yeah.
And just the knowledge of knowing all of these people through the years has got to help you a lot when you are out testing the waters for new talent.
Definitely. Well, and even choosing shows too, because I know what I want to see and I know what I'm interested in directing, but that's not always what our audiences are looking for. And I think it's a real trap as artists to be like, well, this is my vision. Well, who cares what your vision is? You're asking them to pay for it. So like, you better know how to sell them something that they're interested in seeing. You know, if you do your vision in your living room, and then this is for the community, and so we exist for the community, and so
and you got a feel for what, you know, Showboat attendees like. Timberlake, same way.
Right.
So, you know, I'm a town boy, city boy, but I've had so many relatives that have been farmers, so I you know, live that life a little bit too. So it does, it brings everything into focus, I think.
Yeah, and it's just a feel-good show. It really, you just, and it's, I don't want to give too much away, but like, there's a lot of things that go wrong in this show. And and it doesn't just wrap up nicely in a bow. It sort of is like, oh, yeah, that was a tough thing, but that's okay because we're gonna move on from that. You know, it's there's a real level of honesty in the emotions that happen with it too, which is refreshing because it's not just saccharine and sweet and bubbly.
It's
You know,
being able to be in community with one another and go through hard times and be
denial.
able and denial and being able to have that support system around you.
yeah,
Haven't we all been through that
we have.
emotion? Yeah.
No matter who you are, you've been through something where you're like, wow, everything's falling apart. But this is a story about a community, and I like to say that it's about home. It's about finding your home, and it doesn't have to be a home that is real and exists. It's the ideal home, and that's what musical theaters are. Musical
Yeah.
theater is. It aspires to something bigger and better than the world we live in, and this is that show.
All right. Looking
Yeah.
forward to seeing that tonight. So
Yeah.
we promote the show quite a bit here on the station.
Which we appreciate.
I've got 5 or 6 commercials running a day. For
Amazing.
this,
Amazing.
Yay.
So we try to help get people down there, but just you guys in town doing it gets you a nice audience without
Yeah.
even
Well,
without
thank you.
us helping you out. But you've got we're almost done here. Real quick on
Yeah.
your children's theater.
Yeah, we just closed Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus, the musical, which was
was
a
a
huge hit.
So good.
We had to turn people away, unfortunately, which is really sad when it's like 15 kids. But
Yeah.
fire codes and all that are important still. So, Dragons Love Tacos is our next one. It runs the 13th, 14th, and 16th. There was no performance on Friday the 15th. Just know that that had to be canceled because of a scheduling thing, and that is currently scheduled to be at the Vernon Cook Theater at Clinton High School. The great news is we can't sell out there because it's huge. Well, we could sell out if 800 people show up, but because the high school is under construction, we will have final confirmation on that soon, but it is scheduled to be at the Vernon Cook Theater. Super fun, based on the book Dragons Love Tacos. And then after that, the week after, we have our week-long youth workshop.
Okay. And I
Yeah.
know finally Friday is this Friday.
Friday is this Friday, so there's no show tomorrow. We open tonight at 7:30. We have Saturday at 7:30 and Sunday at 3.
Okay.
And then next Wednesday, we're back to our normal schedule.
All right. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yep. Looking forward to seeing it tonight. And as always, break a leg.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
So
You
much.
bet.
KROS 1340 AM, Clinton, Iowa, FM 105.9.
And KROSradio.com.
Hormones and stimulating pressure-sensitive nerves in the scalp. That tells your pituitary gland to release calming chemicals and helps you drift off to sleep a whole lot faster. Again, 5 minutes at bedtime, massaging your own scalp.
Intelligence for Your Life with John Tesh. Find more at tesh.com.
And coming up, research tells us that strong friendships will absolutely help us live longer and happier. But the older we get, the harder